So they're the only things we'll ever remember, the relationships and the experiences. How many of you are actually creating experiences that are worth living? Like you're really there and you're actually in that moment. And how many of the relationships that you've got around you are actually worthwhile in hanging out with? You know, if you're married to someone who is negative, get rid of them. If you hang out with people who are negative, get rid of them, right? All you got to do is serve them notice, right? Notice is really easy. You can even SMS that one if you want to, right? What you do is you SMS them and you say, it's over, don't bother calling, you'll never be able to fix it, right? Just send that, right? And see what happens, right? And then make some decisions to live with more conviction with the way that you actually want to live your life. But get rid of all of the negative people in your life. It'll change things for you really, really quickly. Now here's something interesting. If I got you to think about it, I want you to write down the word positive. Write down the word positive. And next to the word positive, I want you to write down someone who's not your partner, but someone who is the most positive person that you actually know that you could ring at the drop of a hat. Go and write down for me the word positive, and next to that, the name of someone who's the most positive person that you know. Okay, now what I want you to do, we work quickly in Australia, right? I want you to write down the word negative, and next to the word negative, I want you to write down, apart from your partner, someone who is the most negative person that you have access and the ability to phone call, yeah? Just quickly write down their name. Isn't it amazing how most of you have been able to write down the name of the... and you covered your work up, that's interesting, right? But how most of you wrote down the negative person like that. But yet thinking about the positive person was actually what a difficult scenario. Next word, I want you to write down the word negotiator. And next to the negotiator, I want you to write down to that, who is the most successful person that you know in business? Not in real estate necessarily, but in business. They might run some Starbucks franchises or whatever, but someone who's really successful in business. Here's a little tip for you. Every single time that you're down in the dumps, ring the positive person. Every single time that you are making so much money that you just feel invincible and you're going to the Lamborghini dealership, right? You ring the negative person. And every single time that you're about to negotiate on a deal, you ring the negotiator. Now, those three people are not paid for. They just become friends of life. They might be 20, 30, 40 years older than you, or 5, 10, 15, 20 years younger than you. But they are people that you can use as your mastermind to actually be able to keep you on track. Really interesting concept. Because interestingly enough, I keep on ringing my negative person more than I ring my positive person as my business has continued to grow. And the beauty about that is it keeps you what? Level-headed. As opposed to like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, charge them $2,000 to come for an hour. You know? Like it changes the way that you think about things. Now the final fear is the fear of not being right. Have you ever met anyone inside of your organization that knows every single script and dialogue that has ever come out from any trainer that has ever existed in the entire history of training? Right? And they still don't make money. Yeah, anyone ever met anyone like that? Hands up, yes or no? Okay, cool. So the challenge is that we know, like everyone's so focused on learning scripts and dialogues. What's the problem with scripts and dialogues? You know all of the answers, but none of the questions. And so if you know all of the answers, but none of the questions, how will you ever get anyone to actually move with any level of conviction? You see, the thing is that most of us need to emotionalize both our business and personal goals. But we actually don't have any emotional content related to those goals. Now, what happens if you write down your goals and you don't actually achieve them? Well, some of you, if you're accountants in the room, and if anyone's ever had an accounting background, you'll turn around to me and you'll say, well, I just take my goals. Obviously, they were a little bit ambitious. I take them back by about 10% and I reset them for next year. That's how the accountant handles it, right? The skeptic handles it and says, well, goal setting doesn't work. Tried that last year, tried it the year before, tried it the year before. Having no goals is the new black, right? That's how they talk about it, right? And then finally, then you get people who come in and they say, you know what? You know, goals is all about understanding about what you really want in life. But the personal goals are so much more important than the business goals. If you don't have conviction around what you want personally, then why the hell would you get up in the morning? And you want to go and live the good life. That's what we're there to do. We've got to go and live the good life.
This is some of the most innovating training I've seen up to this point. You know, I've been trained by a lot of other sales trainers, you know, some of the ones that he's mentioned, but this is really something that I can apply to what I'm trying to do. And I'm new in the business, but this also is all-encompassing to people who have a lot of experience as well. But I'm blown away based upon the information and the, you know, my ability to be able to incorporate to what I'm doing.
Well, I think for me, I identified a big amount of time wasters that I was kind of currently guilty of. And it's like just in your daily routine, there are so many ways you can be more productive and effective, and such amazingly easy techniques to use. Just really valuable stuff.
We know that the fundamentals in the psychology of selling is that people want what other people want. Yes or no? There's only one reason that they're lining up at the Apple store, right? Because they've got a perception that everyone wants that. So, and especially when they say that it's not available, right? Like they tell you the new iPhone 4S not available. What do? You go back every day until it is available, right? And you probably pick up an iPad and a Mac on your way through, right? So here's the thing, you've got to create that environment. If you want to create that environment with your house sellers, then you've actually got to get buyers there at the same time. Now, it's so funny. One of my agents has come from America, now working in Australia. And she sent me a text message yesterday. She said, how are you going training the Americans? I said, oh, I'm having great fun with it. She said, yeah. She said, when I first moved to Australia, I found it so interesting that no agent in Australia would actually get you in the car and take you out to go and show you properties all afternoon. I said, what? She goes, well, that's what they do, right? They actually get them in the car and take them out for half the day, show them a few houses and see if they want to buy it. In Australia, if you don't turn up to the open, you don't see the house. We're like real security conscious, right? You got to meet us at the property. We won't even let you in our cars anymore, right? We almost have to have taxi shields so that people don't try and, you know, stab us and all that sort of stuff, right? So you see what's starting to happen is that you've got to change the way you're thinking. Now, central locking selling is one of the best selling methods ever. My dad always used to use it, didn't even have central locking, right? The concept is you get them in the car, you take them to 3 homes. You take them to one home that's more expensive than the one they want. You always show them the good one first. Then you take them to an absolute dog of a listing, like the worst house you got on the books, right? And then you take them to the one they should actually buy. And by seeing the 3 homes, then they get to the last one, they're like, I'm over seeing all these properties, I'll just buy that one. Now, central locking selling is one of the easiest ways to actually make a lot of money. But if you're going to do central locking selling, get someone else to do central locking selling at the same time with the buyer in the same price range. Does that make sense? So the same buyer keeps turning up at all the other homes that they're going through as well, and they're like, what's going on here? There's competition. We've actually got to get a result. So you've got to think about it. Don't let your ego get in the way of the fundamentals. The fundamentals are that people want what other people want, and you've got to create that highly competitive environment. We did a big ad in the paper, double-page ad for one of our agents, a guy by the name of Alex Phillips, who's my #1 writer this year, 2.3 million in fees at age 31. Alex puts in the paper, who can you turn to in a tough market? Question mark. Yeah? Who can you turn to in a tough market? Question mark. Then it says, there's not many choices. This is the reason why our sellers use us. And then he had all of his stats. You know, so stats like average days on market, 22 days on less, which means, right, you'll probably sell your house in under 3 weeks. Yeah? The difference between the list price and the sales price, variance of less than 1%, which means you don't have to discount your home to sell it with us. Does that make sense? So he starts to load up the sales copy. And on the page, we've got all of the properties that he's actually sold with all the sold stickers across it. So 89% of all of his homes were sold by day 21, which means, so you see you've got to keep on doing the which means bit so that consumers actually get it. So right now, like you might be able to use the word safe option. So imagine that I'm in there in a listing presentation, and when I'm in the listing presentation, I say to the client, I know that most people right now are looking for 2 things from their agents. The first thing that they want is they want someone who's a safe option, i.e. someone that's done it before, knows how to get a deal together in the current market circumstances. The second thing that most people are looking for is someone that can actually perform. And what I mean by that is someone that can actually get you a great sale price and get you sold. If I showed you how we did these two things today, would that be okay? I got an old school lister, right? Walks into a listing presentation with people now, and he says, there's obviously a reason that you called me in. Why did you get me to come in? What would you like to see happen from here? How would you like to see the transaction handled? And what would you like me to do? That's the entire presentation. 4 or 5 questions. Most people ultimately know what they want to do. Does that make sense? Most people ultimately are there. And if they don't, then he goes into his dialogue around what we need to do in terms of pricing or way that we take it to the market or what we say to buyers and how we pitch it and all that sort of stuff. So the critical thing is, there's agent versus brand marketing. You've got to understand, as an agent, what do you stand for? So when I'm a coach, people say, why do we use you? I say, people use me because they've been confused with all of the other trainers for years, and now they come over to me and they get clarity. And we're about high performance. How do I get you into 100 transactions a year? By getting you better workflow in the what? Fitness, systems, and people, so then you can actually grow your business.
Josh is very insightful, and he's kind of given new meaning to my business. Definitely, time is money, and just going to reorganize and structure and get my systems in place.
I really enjoyed Josh. He's really great. He's really upbeat and full of energy, so he pumps you up in a really positive way.
He's insightful. He is energetic. He's youthful. He's everything I basically want to be in my real estate career. I've listened to a lot of the other greats that are around and prevalent in America, and coming from Australia with a brand new point of view, it's inspiring.